All right, this is Derek with 100 Interviews. We are here with Alice Marwick. She is a PhD candidate at NYU. And Alice, you're doing some interesting stuff within, I guess, kind of on the research side of social media. And we'd love to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us what you got going on and give us some perspective.
Great. Thanks for having me, Derek.
No problem. Wanted to really understand what you're doing with this study, who you're really kind of targeting for the different aspects of the study, and what you hope to accomplish with it.
Sure. So my dissertation is about the effect that social media has on social status. And when I say status, a lot of people think I mean like a Facebook status. I'm eating Mexican food. But what I mean is sort of the hierarchy of people within a community. So every community has a status structure, whether it's a PTA meeting or a conference or a family. There's always sort of a hierarchy of people who are higher and lower status. So what I was interested in looking at was kind of critiquing the idea that social media is always egalitarian, that it opens up democratic spaces, that it allows for equal participation for all people. I certainly think that there's some good arguments to be made, but I think that in a lot of ways social media does kind of reinforce certain sort of, I wouldn't say elitism, that's a little bit strong word, but it does in a lot of ways, I think, affect social status in a way that's not always egalitarian.
Right.
So when I started doing this work, I knew I needed to pick a community that were heavy social media users. And so I decided that I was going to work with basically the Web 2.0 community in San Francisco as my group of people whose social lives were extremely mediated. So I moved from Manhattan to San Francisco for the year, and I've been spending the last 6 months interviewing prominent and not so prominent members of the social media community. Some of them people you guys have been also interviewed for your project.
Right.
And sort of ask them about their experiences in the San Francisco tech scene, their experiences with social media, and sort of other pertinent things like that. So it's been a very interesting experience. I've really kind of jumped into the deep end of learning a lot about the tech community and how it is set up and how people interact with each other. And one of the things that has been really interesting to me is seeing the interaction between people's online social lives in terms of they interact with each other on Facebook, on Twitter, on all these other kind of tools. But then they also know each other face to face. So you have parties, you have conferences, you have events, and South by is a really great place to explore these issues because you see this great sort of merging of online and offline. It's a really fascinating space.
That's awesome. I wonder why you haven't actually interviewed us. Sukchi and I have been in this realm in San Francisco for a while now.
Well,
I feel a little slighted.
No, I would absolutely love to interview you guys. I think that one of the things that's interesting me about your project is how you guys pick the people who are set up for 100 interviews. And I've seen so many people on Twitter say, "Oh, I'm being interviewed for the 100 Interviews project." It definitely becomes a little bit of a badge of honor, that you're one of the people who's been selected for this.
Right. And what's actually happened? We did this, all over Twitter. We didn't actually contact anyone outside of Twitter, and there has been a little bit of a buzz that is built here, and so now we have people that are actually coming up to us now that are not a part of it, that want to, how do I get involved with this? So it is kind of, I believe what you're talking about is really kind of true with, people want to be part of the group.
Yeah, and I think that Twitter is a really interesting case. Like when I moved here, I wasn't planning on doing a dissertation on Twitter or anything like that. But what I've learned is that people use certain techniques to kind of boost their online status. And one of those is certainly live streaming or, mind casting or whatever you want to call it. The idea that you're constantly putting out personal information about yourself in order to kind of create an audience, to promote your own projects, to build a personal brand.
Right.
It's an attention economy. There's many other ways to phrase it. Whether you're a 16-year-old girl putting pictures of yourself on MySpace or a social media guru, putting white paper links up on Twitter, it's the same.
Because Alice, we all know that we all have egos, and and they need to be fed a little bit. So
yeah, and I think that one of the questions that people ask me a lot is, aren't these technologies completely narcissistic? Aren't they just for people to kind of promote themselves and their projects? But I think that what people miss in that is that microblogging or even something like a Facebook feed, they're all conversations, and they don't really make sense if you take each line out of context and look at it one by one. If I say I had a Texas-shaped waffle for breakfast this morning,
did you?
Yeah, I totally did.
Okay. That's awesome.
It might not seem very interesting, but if you see that as part of a conversation with a lot of people that builds up this sort of what people call an ambient intimacy or an ambient awareness over time, it becomes more of sort of a community-focused thing. So looking at Twitter as both individual people's streams and as sort of a way for a community to define and build itself has been a really interesting experience for me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the whole concept of the 100 Interviews came about because we were really trying to analyze how people are utilizing social media in their regular lives. A lot of people talk about it there's this social media phenomenon. My mom's on Facebook, but I don't think she really understands. She understands that she's now connecting with me on a different level. So how are you using social media within your life to really stay connected with friends, with family, and also maybe to promote this project and find the people that you want to actually interview to find out this information?
Sure. Well, I'm a long-term social media user. I've had a website, when it was a personal homepage. I've had my domain registered for more than 10 years, so I'm not at all unfamiliar with the space. I wasn't really a frequent Twitter user. I mean, I've had a Twitter account for a couple of years, but I really didn't use it as much as I do now until I started this project. And it's been a really great way to get to know my interviewees better. If I'm following their Twitter stream, everything about them it builds a bigger picture of just the hour or hour and a half that we've spent with each other talking. I learn more about them. For my own friends and family, actually, I'm an old school LiveJournal user, and I did some work for LiveJournal earlier this year where I wrote a paper about what makes LiveJournal users so passionate. And LiveJournal is an interesting case study. I mean, it's very old school at this point, so I don't know if people would even necessarily consider it social media, but a lot of the things that happen on LiveJournal, where people connect around common interests and they really get to know each other over a long period of time, are similar dynamics than we see in other websites. I use Facebook, I use LinkedIn, I'm using Foursquare a lot, the new location-based social software here.
Thank God you're in San Francisco, because it would have been in New York too. But.
Yeah, I mean, the founders and creators are in New York, so it'll definitely have a presence in New York, but I'm a social media junkie. I mean, you can find me on any social media site that exists.
So I'm going to have to follow you everywhere now.
Yeah.
I'm also there with everybody else. So.
Yeah, but I do have a lot of friends who, I found that the biggest thing that makes a difference in whether I stay in touch with somebody isn't how much I like them, how long I've known them, or how deep our friendship is. It's whether or not they're on the same social media sites that I use.
Exactly.
I have very close friends that I can only really speak to over the phone because they don't even do email, and it makes it harder to have that sort of long-term
Curse
intimacy.
those people.
No, phone conversations have their place, although I know a lot of people who won't even, you barely even know that their iPhone has that capability of having a phone call, because all they use it for is Twitter. But yeah, I found in my own research, I found that I don't blog as much anymore, but when I was blogging in the first couple of years of my PhD, I found it very, very helpful to meet other academics in the same space. Academics tend to use blogs because blogs are more long form,
right.
And they let people explore ideas, and also because academic publishing tends to have a 2 to 3 year backlog. A blog allows you to get out your ideas in a very immediate way to an audience outside of just people who can afford to read academic journals.
Right. Well, Alice, we enjoy your time with us today. We're so glad you stopped by. Hope you enjoy the rest of your South by, and I look forward to seeing how this paper comes along, and would love to read it once you get done.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how it comes along as well.
I bet you are.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for
Alice.
your time.